Yo, what's goody? It's your boy T Sway in the building. Yeah, man, just kicking it with y'all Sunday. And you know what? I felt like hopping on today. You know what I mean? So let's kick it. VIP, let's kick it. I'm just joking. Yeah, man. So whoever is online, let me know. I'm up here and I'm crispy, Versace, shot leather jacket, citizen watch. I bought this watch when I actually made my website, man. Um, Making TonySwayMusic.com was a big deal for me. That was my first major success as a musician, was creating TonySwayMusic.com and putting the Airbit player on there for people to purchase tracks. And to celebrate that victory, I went out and bought this little Citizen, I think it's gold plated watch. And I never really get any other watch because there's something about this one that holds a meaning. There's something about this that is meaningful to me. And maybe one day I'll move up and get something like really expensive, but there's something about this that I don't know. I think that I want this to be I just wear all the time because of the meaning. But I actually want to discuss, and I don't know who's tuning in today. So if you catch me on the playback, that's cool as well. But I actually want to talk about, you know what I mean? I actually want to talk about, what happens. A lot of people don't talk about this, but, a lot of people who have achieved something in life. I'm specifically going to talk about music because, my success or anything that I've ever achieved is related to the music landscape. But, you know what I mean? So, yeah, let me get right into it. But essentially, some of the things that I experienced or have experienced when doing music, has been interesting. So, some of the times when I actually started experiencing small victories within my music was the times where, if I would share that with people and say, hey, you know what, this video just hit 1 million plays. Or back in the day, I used to tell people how much YouTube was paying me. And this is separate from beat sales. So if anybody knows about YouTube, you get monetized through their AdSense program. And I used to tell people that, wow, YouTube's paying me up to, $9,900 in 1 month for 5 videos that I dropped, a mix of, and the rest, well, for all my videos combined, really. But there was 5 of them that were doing the bulk of the views. And it wasn't like that every month, but being naive and being excited, I thought I could just share that kind of information with anybody because, people had seen, me and my brother in particular try to do this music, and they seen us really struggle artists, really just literally, on and off living at, I on and off lived at my mom's, which is nothing wrong with that because you can save money. But back in, if anybody has been with me since my early YouTube, you've seen that I've been married multiple times. So in my first marriage, you can go back to videos from like 2010 on this YouTube, and you can see kind of little bits and pieces of my life. And when the women change in the video, that's because I'm in some of the video people were just people that just volunteered to do a video with me. But some of the, I have my current wife, Janice, is in my music videos with me. And then, I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but it goes into the point of what I'm going to say. But my ex-wife is actually in my old videos from like 2000 and I'm talking like 2011, those years, that has my ex-wife in those videos. And the reason why I wanted to get into that is because I've been doing this YouTube and music for a long time. And people that know me have really seen me through my ups and downs. And you know, when I had my only divorce that I've ever had, I actually had to move back in with my mother at turning 30 years old. Imagine, being moderately successful in your early 20s. I was broke, don't get me wrong. In my early 20s, I was broke, but I was independent though. So I had, a nice apartments, new car, bills paid, eating at Red Lobster and Olive Garden every other day. Life was good, even though in my 20s, life was good, even though I didn't really have more than a couple hundred. Well, I never had more than 2 grand, which I guess that's not too bad, but I never had more than 2 grand. But most of the time back in my 20s, I usually had about $300 in the bank after paying bills. But back then that was okay because everything was so affordable. So I would just work at Best Buy, hustle beats, and that's what I did. And I also received a little bit of, for a couple years, I actually received a little bit of money from the government, but they cut me off of that because I was earning too much. And that stems from when I was younger, and I actually had some mental issues as a teenager, and my mom put me on Social Security. So I'm just being transparent. So my mom had put me on some kind of Social Security because I went cuckoo when I was a teenager. But basically what it really was is I couldn't sleep. So I was an insomniac. And because I had really bad insomnia, they had mistaked it for paranoid schizophrenia because I started hallucinating from not sleep. I literally didn't sleep for close to a month. I could have passed on, because that's how, it's very important, y'all, to get your sleep. If you don't sleep for days on end, that could really be life threatening. So make sure you do get your sleep in. It's actually very important for your body. So I started to go into a hallucinogenic state. It was actually worse than being drunk. They say being sleep deprived is worse than being drunk. So after about 3 weeks of not sleeping, I actually started to hallucinate a little bit. And then I went to a hospital, and they couldn't diagnose me, but they said, oh, you might have, paranoid schizophrenia and all that. I've shared this before in my old videos, but I got back on my feet. And but I only brought that up because the government, when I was a teenager, they did give me a little bit of money. But as soon as I started working and doing music, they cut me off because I started making too much. But basically, I was down bad as a teenager. And in my early 20s, I got right. I got plenty of sleep, eat healthy. I started eating healthy, started working out. And basically, whatever mental issue they said that I had, it was long gone. Because really all it was is I just had to look after my health. I had to get proper rest. I had to eat right, exercise. Never ever had an issue again after that. I never had an issue again since, because I basically know what it was. I wasn't sleeping. That's what it came down to. So thank God for that. I'm not as crazy as I thought. No. Yeah, but anyways, so basically in my early 20s, I received a little bit of money from the government, and then I started earning money from my music, and I had a part-time job at the electronics store known as Best Buy, but I was earning too much money from my music and that job. So the government, they won't let you earn a certain amount when you're on I don't know, it's like Social Security or something. So they kicked me off that. And they made me pay them back too, which is it is what it is, So basically I'm sharing this with you I'm sharing all this because, people seen me, just no matter if it's work colleagues or just everyday people, could be anybody at the gym or just anybody that I talk to. It could be friends, anybody, just anybody in life that you shared things with. in my experience, you know, when things start going well for you, for me, it was within the music. I didn't get the response that I thought I would. I thought people would be happy for me. Um, and I'm talking about like, moderate success, like figuring out how to make 100 grand from your music, which is a big deal to me because I never got put on by any, like, I've worked with major artists, but to be honest, the major artists that I've worked with, it's none of their music except for the Cookie Kawaii song and Tyga. All the other major artists I work with, none of the music ever took off. I've done songs with multi-platinum artists like Frankie J. Obviously, I do have a song with Al B. Shore and his son Quincy, which is a remake of Night and Day. But that didn't chart, and it didn't plaque or anything. But it did get a couple million views on YouTube. So shout out to Quincy and Al B. Shore. That was an amazing experience. But the record didn't get certified or anything. It didn't go gold or go platinum. I only have one gold record, which is the Cookie Kawaii Vibe. So I worked with other, major artists, but those records didn't really go anywhere. But I started to actually achieve moderate, I call it the middle class of music. I started to achieve, moderate success as a musician by way of selling beats, putting my albums out on DSPs, and as I was talking about earlier, monetizing on YouTube. Actually, at one point, YouTube was the biggest checks that I've ever seen early on. Now it's not anymore because I figured out how to get admin deals, and I figured out how to sell parts of my catalog to these big companies and stuff. So that's another thing for any musicians who are listening to this. If you have some records that you're sitting on that actually have a little bit of steam and you need extra money, you can actually sell pieces of your catalog. But the records have to have some kind of success, or at least moderate success. You can actually sell your share of that, or part of your share of the catalog, to companies. There's all kinds of companies that buy music catalogs now. Check out what Justin Bieber did. Check out what Britney Spears did. The Dream sold part of his catalog, or a percentage of his catalog. And these people spend real money on songs. If your songs have any kind of movement on DSPs, you can actually get good payouts. If you have some records that you don't really care for anymore, and you just want to cash out, that's actually a viable option. And if you're listening to this, you can always contact me and I can tell you how to go about that. I work with a very specific lawyer who's helped me get, decent money, not millions and millions, but, I've worked with a lawyer that's put, hundreds of thousands of dollars in my pocket over the last 5 years. So I could, live and pay for my son and my wife and, travel and stuff like that. So that's very important. So if you do have any songs that have movement on DSPs, and you don't care about receiving the royalties for anymore, or you could part with 50% of those royalties, there's companies that will buy out. There's companies that will give you, let's say you have a record. What's good? RAT, appreciate you. Let's say you have a record that's making like, $7,000 a year, which is like, I don't know, roughly like 500, 600 a month, something like that. My math is probably off. You can find one of these companies, whether it be an Exposure or there's a bunch of different companies that are doing this. And basically what they'll do is they'll purchase your BMI or your pro royalties from like a BMI or an ASCAP. They can purchase the royalties from the label itself. Like, for instance, I was working with Empire, and then they can purchase your admin deal. And you might even, with me in particular, I was unrecouped on my admin deal and they still bought the song. So in my experience, you can make, even on a smaller level, you can make 100, 200, thousand or more um, from a buyout. One of the songs I did give or take, it wasn't 100 grand in total. What I earned from the song was a little over 200 grand, but I did a buyout for a song recently. And it was like, I mean, I don't want to give exact amounts because now I hate talking about money, but just ballpark. This place bought it out around 90 grand. And I had to actually, obviously 30% of that went to the lawyer. So it's not all to me, but my lawyer sets up everything. He closes all the deals. So I don't have to do that kind of work. But, I have thousands of songs in my catalog. So I only had to part ways with one record. And that one record put an extra, aside from the lawyer fees, that put an extra 60K over the last year and a half in my bank, aside from, selling beats and doing that kind of stuff. So, you know what I mean? And that's what it is. Now I have to, obviously I put that money back into the studio. I'm putting that money back into, I'm actually doing a move out to the UK, which that is super expensive, buying a visa and all that stuff, that's 7 grand out, for a visa to the UK. Moving your studio equipment, that's thousands of dollars, you know what I mean? So, and then handling, it's just a lot of work, you know what I mean? But, basically the whole point of this video is, when you actually start to achieve some of your goals, from my case, musically, in my musical experience, anytime I would share with people, a lot of people would sometimes give me an off look. They'd look at me like I'm stupid, or they'd give me backhanded compliments like, oh, you can't, so you're a musician, so you must be a starving artist. You probably don't make much. And I go, oh no, I'm definitely not rich, but I make a living. And then you might say, you know what, I remember somebody asked me this question at a gym, and I said, I'm making a little bit, around 10 to 11K for my music a month. So it's, and I'm not a millionaire, but I get to make this music full time. And it's cool to see $10,000 to $11,000 from your music. And the guy just looked at me like, just gave me a dirty look. And I thought this person was my friend, and he didn't say good job or nothing. It was just like you can't be serious. Like, and I wasn't sharing that to swag on people. In my mind, I thought by me sharing that you can make a living off music, by me sharing that, I thought that actually would inspire people to try their dreams, but what's good, Jay? I appreciate you. I thought, by me sharing that kind of information, that people would be happy for me, because some of these people seen me down bad. Some people know the life that I come from. They know I've shared with people that I come from welfare system and broken home, and my father's was in prison the majority of my life, and even my OG son. So my dad's name is Eric Simmons. Shout out to Dad. Love you, Dad. We had a rough one with my dad growing up, but I still love you, Pops. Thanks for the gift of music. Thanks for making me. I appreciate it. And shout out to my mom. I love you, Mom. Sometimes my mom tunes in, but the truth is, all my real influence from my music really comes from my mother. The talent comes from my dad's side, but the influence of what I like, really, my mom. I have my mom to blame for that. She put me on to Albie Shore, Tina Marie, SOS Band. Also, my late aunt Raisha, rest in peace. Love you, Auntie. My aunt put me on to SOS Band, Patrice Rushen, people like that in the early 80s. When I couldn't even talk yet. They were playing that kind of music before I could even talk, But to get back to my point, let's see. Rat to Cow 45. Same happened to me when I told them about my first royalty check. Yeah, bro, I can relate. And it's not like that everybody hates on you, but I was very naive because I hadn't had any major success, in my music I had nothing to really share with people that was like a big deal. I was, when I was about 29, I was making like probably about $700 a month for my music. And I didn't really share that with people too much, but with my first wife, we were just splitting the bills down the middle. And I think she got tired of that. Eventually, sometimes, man, sometimes with women, you definitely got to have, like, they might like you a lot in the beginning. They might like you or even love you for years, but if you don't come up with some money after a while, sometimes they can get tired of you. But yeah, so in my first marriage, didn't really have much money, but we always lived well. We always had a nice apartment, always had a car, a running car, a full grocery, and but didn't have a lot of money. Needs were met, but didn't have a lot of money. So I didn't really share my little victories back in those times, circa 2010 to 2012. I wasn't really sharing what I was making with people because it was nothing to really, I didn't feel like it was brag worthy. But yeah, I would make about 700 in a month from selling beats back then. Some on a good month, sometimes I'd make 1,000. And there was a few random months where I worked with like Frankie J. I produced his album Courage. I co-produced that. I did multiple tracks on there and mastered and mixed the album. And Frankie actually he actually paid me around 2,000 from that. So shout out to Frankie J for holding me down back when things were hard. Frankie, good guy, not just a hit maker, but good guy. I did that music for free because I just did it for the experience, but he still gave me $2,000 from doing that album, which really showed me that he was just a real person at the end of the day. So man, Frankie, bro, I appreciate you for life, for really being there for me. It's been a while since I've actually hung out with him, but he's a real dude, man. He's a real dude. He's not one of those fake industry people. He's a real dude. He invited me and my homie Louie to his home. And I've been to his home multiple times, and just a real guy. He put me in a room next to his studio, say, hey, you can sleep right there. I woke up, he goes, hey man, you need some eggs and some bacon or something. Like, he's just a real dude. And then we would get to work in the studio. You know what I mean? Yep, exactly. Shout out to Frankie J. I never met Bash, but I talked to Bash on Instagram. He seems like a really down to earth cat as well. So shout out to them, bro. But during those times when I was really kind of just getting my feet wet, making music, those were kind of, that's all I would really make money from. I'd make, $700 selling beats. I might make $50 from TuneCore. And then that's, like I said, that same year, I think it was 2011, Frankie J paid me $2,000 for working on his Courage album, which was really dope. But yeah, I wasn't, all in all, I don't think maybe I made 10 grand from my music. But, back in 2011, California has always been expensive, but it still was nowhere expensive as things are now. So I took my little 10 grand and also my I was making money from my Best Buy job. And I just went down the middle with the ex-wife, and we had super nice apartments, newish, not new, but a newish car that ran great. So life was pretty much good, even though I didn't have money, because back then you just didn't have to have a lot of money to really live. Nice apartment, nice car, good MPC, MPC was actually a gift from Albie Shure's son, Quincy. MPC and a little Phantom. If you guys go back to my old videos, you can actually see my Phantom XA video that actually, shout out to Louis. He actually purchased that keyboard with me, went half. So that was really dope of him to do that, because that keyboard was the start of my career, really. So shout out to him, man. We went halves on that keyboard for the production of our group. We had a group called Variety, aka R&B Smooth, back in the MySpace era. And that keyboard started me off. And that was eventually the keyboard that landed me placements with Frankie J, Al B. Shore, and Quincy. Um, Crazy Bone. I got my first placement with Crazy Bone was off that keyboard. And we got that keyboard from a secondhand dollar store. They weren't selling it for $1. They were selling it for 400, but they had it at like a dollar store. And it was from a Guitar Center that burned down, and they were selling it. They were probably actually overselling it for a little bit too much because of it had been through a fire, and they still managed to clean it up. We just didn't know. I found out from somebody who owned a music shop down the street. He said, "Oh, beware, because they actually got that keyboard from a Guitar Center fire. So make sure that it still works." But thankfully, I owned that keyboard for about, I think I had it for like 16, 17 years before I finally sold it. I regret selling it, but I never had an issue with it. It always started, it always worked. I never had an issue. So I guess that fire didn't affect it after all. But to get back to my point, like when things started to heat up for me, when my first marriage actually ended, my career actually started to heat up, which is odd. So right when that ended, my career started to heat up. And then like within a year, literally within a year, my videos were starting to get tens of millions of views on YouTube. And all of a sudden, these AdSense checks that I used to get, they used to only be like $100, but all of a sudden they were turning into 5,000, 8,000, and then damn near $10,000 AdSense checks from just putting out music videos and and beats with artworks on them. I was getting more money from that than I was from actually selling the beats. So I was like, oh wow, there's more that you can get out of this music than just simply just trying to sell it. You can actually get money for the views. So that was new to me. And I started sharing that with just about anybody that I would run into. I was so happy about the success. I would just tell anybody. And I just remember a lot of people wasn't feeling it. Even sometimes I would go into a bank and granted, they're probably doing their job. And they would say, "What is this $9,000 check?" And I'd tell them it's from YouTube. And they go, "Oh, really?" But it was always just kind of weird. But sometimes people would be cool. I remember the bank person was like, "Oh, I have a friend that does that too." So they weren't really hating, but they were just being suspicious. I get, I don't know. Could have been a mix of different things, but they started questioning me about it, like as if I was like laundering. I'm like, dude, Google AdSense is a worldwide company. You should know what it is by now. But yeah, I got that money legally, buddy. But it's not like it's $1 million check. I entered the middle class of music, which was something very hard to do because I was making money from my music in the 2010, 2011 era, but I was basically in poverty. So the only reason that I made it is because I used to split bills with with the ex-wife. I used to split bills, so that's how I managed to get by and live in a nice apartment and have a newish car and groceries and eat out. So I was living good because I was splitting everything down the middle. And back then, it just didn't take a lot of money to live your life. So even if you're only making under 20 grand, if you have a roommate or you split bills with your wife or your girlfriend, back then it was very easy to be comfortable, it's just how it was back in those times. Didn't take as much as it does now. So, but when it became 2015 and 2016, that's when I started seeing some actually, which you would call, I guess, real success, where, actually moving up to the middle class or back then it seemed like, I don't know if I would call it the upper middle class, but I guess back then I was single for 2015, but then I met my current wife in 2016. Shout out to Janice Carrito. Love you, baby. But back in those times, when in 2015, making 11,000, because I was selling beats and also getting ads, monetizing on YouTube and TuneCore, and getting my royalties from TuneCore. So not only would you get a $9,900 check from AdSense, but then you make $1,500 beat sales, and then you get a couple $100 from your royalties. You know what I mean? And then basically I would get like 11K in a month. I never had that kind of money at that time before. I never seen that kind of money. So I was like, dang, 11,000 in one. When I was making music, I was lucky to see 11,000 in a year, like in 2010. But I was like, oh, wow, 11,000 from 1 month of music. That's crazy. So granted, I had to pay people for the videos. The videos were getting promoted across different playlists on YouTube. So I had to pay some of those people to basically, I had to hire them to promote me. So that would be like 1,500, sometimes 2,000. So really you get like instead of making 11K, you really get like 9K, because out the gate, you got to drop, 1,500 to 2,000 or 1,400 to 2,000 to pay people to promote it and stuff. So but still, even a 9K profit, I just never, when in 2015, that was like, I never experienced anything like that. And I also didn't understand the taxes was about to whip my behind. Taxes had whipped my behind for 10 years because I didn't know what I was doing. Now I know what I'm doing. I know how to work the tax system as a businessman. And to be completely honest, I'm a sole proprietor on my taxes, and I save so much money by buying all this music equipment. Y'all think I'm just buying keyboards for fun? Man, those tax write-offs, bro. So if I spend 20 grand in a year on keyboards, that's 20 grand that the majority of that percentage of 20 grand doesn't have to go to the government, because I legitly bought it for my business and for my YouTube videos. So there you have it. But let's see, Radical 45, you said, is LA still worth moving out to? I live in Texas, but I'm trying to go where the opportunities are. I think LA is a good place to visit and network with people. To live there, I believe you should make connections visiting there first before you just move there. But if you have the bread for it, if you have good money, you can always just go do a 12-month lease on a pad out there or something and try to get your feet wet. But LA is a very difficult place to break into. So it helps if you have some connections before you go there. Like, LA is full of a lot of, shout out to my LA people, but it's full of a lot of sharks and vultures and people that you can't trust. People want to know who you are. So if I was rolling in LA, try to make those connections before you even get there, if possible. I was lucky, to be solid friends with, I'll Be Sure's son, Quincy. And, he was already famous. So when I was with him, if I went somewhere with him, people treat me really well because I'm with him. And, it's just when you're around important people, they treat you differently in LA. But if people don't know who you are in LA, they're definitely going to treat you differently. So it's kind of like LA reminds me of high school. LA is a lot like if y'all remember high school, if you're not one of the popular kids, you got to hang or know some of the popular kids and be cool with them. And if you're cool with them, then everybody kind of sees you as the man. It's like I had all kinds of different experiences in school. I wasn't really popular. Well, I was popular at different points. I was popular as an athlete when I was 12 years old because I was dunking on people. Like, real talk, I can't jump like that anymore, but I had some hang time, man. Like, I had some air time when I was like light-skinned Jordan, and I was really dunking on fools. And I had O-dog braids in my hair. And I'll send y'all a link to that picture if I can find it. but I had O-Dog braids and I was dunking on people in high school. And so I was pretty or not high school. I was dunking on people at 12 and 13, believe it or not. Um, Now I don't think they weren't regulation hoops. They were like 9-foot hoops and stuff. So it wasn't, but I was dunking, the schoolyards would have like 9-foot hoops and I was jumping over people and dunking on them, bro. I was a bad boy back then. And so I was very popular in those 12 to 13 because, athletes are just popular. Like people, they want to know you. So it didn't matter. Girls are guys would want to be your friend. Girls would want to, even back then at 12 and 13, girls want to be your girlfriend. Everybody wants to know you. You know, people come up to you and go, "Oh my God, I've heard of you. I want to see you do a triple 360 dunk." And so I would put on dunk contests or I would put on like dunk shows for people and like do all these airtime. I'll be like doing these, because I was influenced by Michael Jordan before I got into music. So I'd be doing all these crazy like windmill dunks, like I wish I still had that same athleticism, man. It was pretty amazing when you're that age. The how high I could jump off the ground when I was 12, it was pretty mind blowing, bro. I could jump over a person at that age, which was Space Jam Tony. Yeah. Man, I wish I was in contact with some of the people I used to play with, but they would tell you I was very athletic when I was younger. But that didn't last long because I got into music. Once I got into music, my interest in athletics started to kind of wane, and I started to spend more time in the music because my mom eventually bought me a keyboard, and I started to spend more time on that keyboard than I did playing basketball. And that's just what it was. And I stopped growing too. I was tall all the way up until I was 17, and I stopped growing, and everybody caught up to me because I'm only 5'10". So everybody caught up to me, but I was 5'8". I was already 5'8" when I was 12 and 13. I was tall for my age, but once I got to high school, my growth spurt stopped, and so did my hoop dreams because I was like, man, I didn't get past 6 feet. So I was like, okay, my interest had already changed anyway. So maybe it was just meant to be, but everybody thought that I was going to be like Shaq, but no, I stopped growing when I was 17. And some of the people that I was way taller than at 12 and 13, those were the people that ended up being like 6'4" and who ended up being very tall. So it was actually the really short kids that actually had those crazy growth spurts. By the time I seen them out of high school, I'd be like, man, it would be people that used to be like like 5 feet tall, and all of a sudden they're 6'4" when you see them, in their 20s. I was like, dang. But for me, I had all my growth spurts young, and I was dunking on people at 5'8" at 12 years old, and it was pretty great, man. But I was never comfortable with the attention. The attention always kind of messed with me because I wasn't always popular. So I'd always wonder, why do these people keep wanting to talk to me? Like, this is weird. A couple of years ago, I was a chubby kid, and people didn't really want to know me like that. But all of a sudden, growth spurt. 12, had a little 4-pack, and I was dunking on people, and all of a sudden everybody wants to know me in those times of my life. But that didn't last because I stopped doing sports. Once I was about 14, I wasn't really, except for when I, maybe playing outside with friends, I wasn't like actively playing in school and putting on dunk shows for people. So my popularity for that went away, and then I kind of became more reclusive and doing my music. But I'm kind of going off topic here, man. But to be honest with you, I guess I just wanted to encourage people today, based on my experiences, that whatever success that you have are little success. And, I could say, yeah, I'm not a millionaire from music, man. But I do believe I will be, because I'm going to keep grinding. I would like to be a millionaire, and I believe it will happen in God's timing. But the the moderate success, I would say moderate success that I've experienced with music, being able to live off of it, being able to buy all this amazing equipment, being able to, put food on the table for my wife and son, being able to move to another country and afford the visa fees and, all that, which I'm not there yet. I just paid for that fee to basically get a visa, but I'll talk about that some other time. Basically, what I'm saying is that for me, just to be able to make my music and eat off of it and keep a roof over my head and my family's head and being able to travel, to me, that is a great feeling. Even though it's not where my final destination of where I want to go, I'm grateful that I can make this music and have it provide in all those different ways for me to live my life. And even just sharing that with people are my small wins, or to me they were big wins. When you make if you make $11,000 in a month from your music, to me that's always going to be a big win. Even though it's not $1 million check, it's still like a big deal. It's like, wow, like I got paid 11K for my music. That's a crazy, in 1 month, that's a crazy feeling. And I just remember, sharing that with people, and not everybody was so receptive. And some people downright, just, whether it was like a dirty look or that's nothing special kind of, or that ain't nothing, like, you just get, not everybody was so happy for me. And sometimes it would come from, sometimes it would just come from people that I knew for years, like people that I went to school with, that they seen me go through hell. They know that I came from a welfare family and hard life. Some of those people were even like, oh, that ain't nothing, man. And I'd be like, man, why? I'd be like, I wonder why they saying that. I thought that person was my friend. Like, what? They're not happy for me. Like, they know that I'm from the gutter. So I would be kind of hurt by it. I'd be like, damn, that's hurtful. Like, they know that I came from a very messed up situation. Why would they not say, they're happy? Like, why are they like, do they want to see me down? And the thing is, a lot of people are more comfortable when you're down. That brings me to my next phase. A lot of people can sleep at night knowing that you're not doing better than them. If people find out that you're doing better than them, like maybe you started a business or something's working out for you. For me in particular, it was my music. If they can't feel better than you, that's when, and they're not emotionally intelligent, those people will start hating on you, man. And some of them will just hate on you, and even people that you consider friends, that you find out are really not your friends, they'll get salty with you. And you know, not all friends. I have, not all friends are going to hate, but to be honest, I've seen hate from some people that I actually really care about. There's people that I really care about genuinely hated on me when I shared success with them. And to this day, I really, the relationships with those people's they're never exactly what they can never be as good, because I know that for some reason, me doing what I'm doing made them insecure. And these are people that I grew up with, people that I care about. And even the people that I cared about hated on me. And I'm like, dang, like sometimes people shake it off like they're just clowning, or sometimes people say it seriously, or like, well, well, we have real jobs around here. Like, I can't, I wish I had a quarter for every time people say, well, we have real jobs. I'm like, dude, stop trying to discredit musicians as not being a career. Like, I literally eat off of this. I literally take care of myself. I literally can go and have a steak dinner whenever I feel like it, literally can travel whenever I feel like it because of music. So I mean, it's not free. So don't, and I don't get angry, because I just really don't care. I kind of stay in my world of my music, and my son and my wife, they put a smile on my face. And if people have a problem with me being a musician, or like, I don't even, it used to bother me when I was younger, but it don't bother me anymore. I'm like, bro, I'm just try to be a good person. And You know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe I swag on people a little bit, but I'm also transparent. I'm not balling out on, I'm not like, trying to show off on that level. I buy some little, keyboards. Keyboards is what makes me happy. I'm not really a big, I used to be a kind of a car guy, but I bought the cars, I bought the cars that I really love, which is a 97 S class, which that's my dream car. I have that, but that was only 7 grand, and I've had it for over 10 years now. I bought the 2006, I believe, a S430. I think that's the model number, but so those were my dream cars, and I got them. But I'm not really a car guy, and I'm more just a music equipment guy, to be honest. And I like nice clothes because I like to look cool when I film, and when I step out, I like to be cool. You said it's a Radical 45. You said it's a bummer type of feeling. That's why I feel either lost friends or they became distant, but it's never the same. Yeah, it's never exactly, man. Like, and I'm still cool with a lot of these people, and they know they were salty. You know what I mean? But I just don't. What happens is it damages the friendship, because you know that if things really popped off, you got to stay away from them, because they'll find a way to sabotage you, basically. Like, if you're doing like, and I was just experiencing moderate success, like a $10,000, $11,000 payday is nowadays making over 100K is like, that's like standard. Like, people got to make that just to get by in some cities, you know what I mean? So, but people were hating on that. It's not even $1 million. It's just, people are just mad about that because they don't particularly have a passion for what they're doing for money. And I just be like, well, why? I'll tell people, well, why don't you do something that truly matters to you, so you can be proud of the money you make from it? Because I'm proud, whether it's $1 or $50,000. I'm proud. Any money that I make from my music, I'm proud of. I don't care if it's 50 cents. If I make 50 cents or 10,000 from my music, I'm proud of. I get excited about both of them. I still get checks from my CD Baby, which is my first distributor, and they send me these $11 checks, and I'm still excited when I get them. When it hits my direct deposit, I'm like, oh, that's $11 from CD Baby. It still makes me happy because I'm proud of every dime that I make, doing music. It's always a blessing. You know what I mean? So I'm just being real with you. But yeah, just be prepared. This video really is for musicians, but I guess you could just relate it in life in general, that, be careful when you share whether it's a small victory or a big victory or in between victory, pay attention to how people respond when you share it with them. Are they genuinely happy? Do you notice a dirty look on their face when you share it? Do they give you a smug look? Because, to be honest with you, somebody could say, oh, that's great, but then you look at their face and they're like, yeah, that's cool. They make, that Snoop Dogg's character in Baby Boy. Well, do you all remember on Baby Boy, what was Snoop Dogg's character's name on Baby Boy? Does anybody remember Baby Boy with Tyrese? And then Snoop Dogg, what was his name on Baby Boy? He was like the super hater ex-boyfriend. And there's this meme of Snoop Dogg that people use every time when somebody's hating. And it's this Snoop Dogg meme where he has the window rolled down and he's like, and that's kind of, he has the window rolled down and he's like looking at the side of the window like that. And sometimes people will literally say, oh, good job. But they'll have that Snoop Dogg meme face like, oh, that's what's up. Yeah, I'm real proud of you. Yeah, that's cool. And people will look at you like that. Yeah, Rodney. And he broke, what's her name? The son, he messed up. He goes, he messed up his little fort. That movie's toxic, man, but it has some funny parts in it. But some of the people, share something positive that's happened with you. Share it to somebody, share it to a friend, family member. Pay attention to their body language. Pay attention to their face, their facial expression. even if they say good job or oh, that's great, look at their face. Like, what does their face say? What is their body language? So if somebody's like, oh yeah, man, I'm real proud of you. Yeah, that's cool. You're the man. Hmm. That's not really like a face of somebody that if somebody's like happy for you, they're gonna be like, yo, I'm so proud of you, man. Like you deserve this. I'm truly happy for you. It's gonna be a sincere congratulations. But I've experienced all the above. I've had people say something somewhat positive, but then the look on their face is like a hater look. I've had people outright say, "Oh, well, that's not a real job. I have a real job, and you're basically that's not real work. So what? You make money from." I've had all from people that I thought I was cool with. So I just want to prepare any of y'all for that. Anytime you have a victory, a small victory, a big victory, or a major victory, just be careful about who you share it with, because some people don't want you to win. A lot of people are only happy when they're doing better than you. And if you're one of those kind of people that can't be happy for somebody else, that's not a good trait. Like when I would hang out with like Frankie J, and he's living in $1 million plus pad, has gold and platinum plaques all over his wall. He had every keyboard that I could ever dream of, every equipment that I could dream of. I'm just sitting there going, bro, this is amazing. You've accomplished so much. I hope one day that I could really follow in these footsteps. And you just really done it, bro. I just want to say hats off to you. And I'm absolutely like happy and extremely proud to say that you're my friend and all your success. That's how I talk to my successful friends that are millionaires. And I tell them that, man, you doing it, man. I'm proud of you, and it's going to only get better. But if your friends are not like a T Sway, and they don't congratulate you and show genuine sincerity when you have a win, those are not real homies. They're not real friends. And I hate to say it, man, but you got to be careful. Even if you care about those people, be careful with those kind of people. Those people do not want to feel like they don't want to feel like they're less than. They have low self-esteem. And it took me a long time to understand that, because it's not, like I said, it's not like I'm making millions of dollars. You know what I mean? I figured out how to make 9 to 11 grand in a month off my music back in 2015, but I was just living a normal life, renting apartment. I bought a couple cars and keyboards, and went out with my current wife, and like I wasn't doing nothing crazy. I've just been living a middle class life. You know what I mean? But blessed to do it off my music. You know what I mean? So I didn't understand that so many that people would offend them. So what it did remind me though is I go, wow, if I can't share, like if I can't share like my small wins with people, man, I should be very, very paranoid of sharing any major wins. So when I do get that $2 million royalty check, or when I get a $10 million payday from admin deal for a hit record, I really can't share that. I don't feel comfortable with sharing that with any people, because it might make people feel away. And that hasn't happened yet. I believe, I'm going to put it out there in the universe. I believe I will get $1 million, $10 million deal from a hit record. I truly believe that. But knowing what I know now, I just wouldn't, besides my mom and my wife and stuff, and my brother, it's not like I'm going to really tell people that, because I might say, oh yeah, I just got this song took off, and they might see me drive by in a new Benz or something. Or maybe I'll keep the old Benz, because I don't always want to let people know what's going on with me. But, if that happens, and I believe it will, I just don't want to really share it with a lot of people, because I feel like they might snake me or something, or they might, I don't know about set me up, but maybe that might be a little extreme. But I just don't want to share that with people, because I've had too many experiences of people not being happy for me when I just get small victories, small wins. And the thing is, I've been on a lot of ups and downs. I've been on a roller coaster ride. After I had all that success on my YouTube, the YouTube fell off, and those $9,000 checks turned into $600 checks or 500 or $400 checks, and all of a sudden I wasn't making that much off of those videos anymore. So it it would it would bother me for people to hate on my little victories because I already come from the struggle. I'm from the struggle. That's why I buy a Versace shirt, because somebody like me could never go and spend $1,000 on a jacket or shirt as a kid. You know what I mean? I do that as a memento to remind myself that, man, I came a long way. I came a long way, and I'm gonna buy this keyboard. I'm gonna buy this shirt or this jacket as a reminder that I came from the bottom, and I'm still rocking, man. At the end of the day, I'm still alive. I'm still making music, and I'm healthy, and that's it, man. So, hey, if people are hating on your small victories, small, big, it doesn't matter. If you can't find people to celebrate your victories, celebrate it for yourself, man. If you get a big win, or if you make some money from your music, congratulate yourself. Do something good for yourself. You know what I mean? Take yourself out to dinner. Like me, I go out for a salmon or a steak dinner. Anytime I get like, hey, boom, got a check for a royalty check, boom, a steak dinner or a salmon dinner or something, new keyboard or something, a royalty check hits, I'll buy myself a Versace shirt. And you want to, not spend all your money on that, but I'm just saying, you got to have a little, for me personally, I have the things that I like. So if I get a nice little royalty check, I buy a new keyboard, I buy a new shirt or something, just to congratulate and remind myself that at one point in time, I couldn't do any of that. I couldn't buy a keyboard. I couldn't buy the clothes that I liked. I had to wear hand-me-down clothes from my dad. I had to wear my dad's clothes. My dad had to wear my clothes when he was out of jail. Me and my dad were sharing the same clothes when I was 12 and 13, because I was already 5'8". When I was 12 and 13, I was already the same height as my dad. Yes, sir. You said it's okay to reward yourself. Absolutely. And I think you should, because to be honest, money comes and goes. So for me personally, I have to have little reminders that I've had these wins over time. I got to do things that remind me that I made a lot of money that year, or I made a lot of money that month. So I have to do little things to remind me that I had success. Because in the music game, one year you're up and the next year you're down. Or 1 month you're up and the next month you ain't getting much of anything. And that's been my experience. So this hasn't been an easy ride. It's been this musical ride has been nothing short of a major challenge. There's been major wins, and then all of a sudden big drop-offs. The YouTube, that really messed me up. Imagine getting up to 9K to 11K in a month, and all of a sudden the people that I was working with, they lost their YouTube pages. And then all of a sudden I couldn't promote those same videos anymore. And so then it went down from making 9 to 11K off, or making around 9, almost 10 grand off of AdSense every month. Well, at least some of the biggest months were making around 9K. And then the average month would be like around 5 to 6K. But in the winter months, because the commercials on the YouTube videos, they amp up for the holidays. So though they were paying out really good money in those months. And but imagine having that, and then all those videos completely falling off, and then you're just back to the basics. You know what I mean? So, or you get a hit record, and that hit record pays you, in my experience, 6 figures in a year, but then all of a sudden that record's not hot anymore. And then the next year, the royalties are half of that, are the royalties you made only half the next year. So it's, you know, I believe that any kind of victory that I get in music, I believe I deserve it, because I also suffer. I suffer for the music. And now we're dealing with all this, you know, AI stuff. They're trying to wipe out real musicians. They want robots to make our music now, which is absolutely ridiculous. The people that support that really makes me question humanity. It's like, what do you want people to do? Do you want people to just do nothing? Like, do you really want robots to run the whole world? Like, I mean, hey, if that's what y'all want, all right then. But you ask, hey, if people want that, then hey, there's nothing I could do to stop it. But I do think it's weird, because if people are not going to have anything they can do, what are people going to do? Like people are going to have no purpose in life if they can't do human work. But I guess that's another topic, another story. But, you know, musicians in 2026, we're battling AI. We're still battling people stealing our music and trying to get rich off our work, which is also an AI issue as well. AI music makes music from real musicians. So AI trains off of real musicians and then doesn't pay them. And that's why a lot of musicians have a problem with it, because AI is training off of real music, but not paying the real musicians. So they're sampling us essentially for free. And some of these people are going to get their comeuppance. They're going to, the chickens are going to come home to roost, because you know, people who are truly passionate about the music are not going to, they're not going to allow that. You know what I mean? So NJK Music 6014, you said the truth. I appreciate you tuning in, man. I'm going to pop on that AC real quick, because it's starting to get warm. So give me some water, y'all. Damn hot. When I start talking, it gets hot. So yeah, but you know, in 2026, musicians we're battling with the DSPs. We're battling with AI. DSPs trying to kick people off, saying they got fake streams, AI trying to replace musicians. We're dealing with other people still stealing our music and not compensating us for it. We're still dealing with trying to negotiate bad deals. We're still dealing with bad business people that want to shortchange us. So musicians, we have a lot to deal with. So when we get our wins, we got to celebrate them, man. We got to celebrate our wins, because there's already a lot on our plate, man. So, you know I upload my little videos of me unboxing my Versace shirts and stuff. I really do that to show people, like, hey man, I just had a royalty check just came in, and I'm doing something nice for myself. And I'm trying to encourage people, like, just don't be afraid to celebrate your victories. Don't be afraid to celebrate your wins, even if it's a small win. Life is short, bro. People sitting around, thinking that life is forever. Life is it's a long but short ride, and sometimes really short, depending on who you are. Celebrate your victories, man. It's very important to reward yourself so that you continue to do the work. And that's just my personal belief. I cut back in other areas of life, but I go crazy on anything that I enjoy, whether it's studio equipment or, nice jackets and clothes. I splurge on the things that I enjoy, and for me, the music goes together with the fashion. So I splurge on that kind of stuff because, music and fashion and your image, it goes together. It's very important to me. You're not going to see me making beats, looking all crusty. I'm gonna make beats, and I'm gonna be fly when I make beats. That's important to me. Now, everybody has their own image, so that might not be your thing, but for me, that's my thing. So that's important to me because I grew up watching, DJ Quick, Tupac, Al B. Shore, people that had their image down packed. They had, when you think of Al B. Shore, you think of the denim jacket. when you think of DJ Quick, you think of, you know, the red flannel and you know, and the herringbone chain. And when you think of Tupac, you think of Versace, you think of the bandana, you think of the rollie on the wrist, you think of the black leather outfits and the Timbs. So when you're a musician, I believe you have to have a distinct branding, a distinct image, a distinct fashion sense. Along with your music, you have to have a look to you. You have to have a look about what you do. You have to be a superhero, essentially. That's what I believe. You got to be a superhero when you're a musician. And yeah, man. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I've been on for over an hour now. And that's just my thing. So be careful who you share your victories with. Make sure you celebrate your successes. And if people are not celebrating your wins with you, or even your small wins, big wins, it doesn't matter. If you notice people are not celebrating that with you, remove them out of your personal circle. Those are not people that you want to break bread with. Those are people that are going to try to snipe you because of a jealousy, or they're going to say they're not going to be good to be around because something about your success bothers them. And that, you know, that's just the reality of it, man. So yeah, just, you know, just be careful with that. And man, that's just what it is. So just be careful with that. And that's really all I got to say, man. Like Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about that. So just be careful who you share your victories with. Be proud of yourself when you have a win with this music. Celebrate your victories. What, you know, it doesn't matter if you made $10 from your music today. Be proud of yourself. You're making something off of your art. If you sold a CD today, be proud of yourself. If you made 10,000 from your music this month, be proud. If you made 1,000 from your music this month, be proud of yourself. You are a solo entrepreneur, or maybe you work with a couple people, I don't know, but be proud of your victories, whether it's $1 million or $1. If you made money from your music, you are winning. It doesn't even matter, dude. I said earlier on this live that if I'm happy when I get $11 royalty from CD Baby, which they have my old albums on their distribution, and I'll get like $11 every 3 months from them. And I'm still excited when I get that because it's something that came from my art that I'm very proud of. It doesn't even matter how much. It's just, wow, I made that from my, you know, music. I get excited from a $10, and I get excited from a $15,000 royalty. I get excited by all of it because it came from my heart. It's my art. You know, this is my art, my music that I'm putting out, and I'm very proud of it. And I think y'all should feel the same way. So, hey, if you open up your DistroKid and there's $5 in there, be happy that you earned something from your music at the end of the day. Keep going with it. Keep striving. And if people don't want to celebrate your small wins, you know, just maybe you can't, maybe it's some people in your family, you might not be able to completely get rid of them, but just keep certain things to yourself and be proud of yourself, man. You know what I mean? That's all I'm trying to say is just be happy for your small wins. Don't let nobody tell you nothing. Just keep going. And one day people will be like, man, I used to know that person, you know, and they're going to wish that they stayed friends with you. And they're going to wish, you know, have you guys ever seen that clip of Michael B. Jordan? Where some girl that used to go to school with him was interviewing him. And he goes, hold up, I know you. You used to make fun of me in high school and, you know, said I was corny. You know what I mean? And she was somebody that was hating on him when he was on his grind in high school, trying to figure out this acting, this philanthropy, or not philanthropy, thespian. I forgot what they call it when you're a serious actor. But she was making fun of him, said that he was corny and stuff. But then he ended up being one of the, if not the biggest actor in the movie industry right now, Michael B. Jordan, man. He just had like another major win. Shout out to Michael B. Jordan, a brilliant, talented brother, man. He's really out there making making waves in the movie industry. And I'm really proud of his success. You know what I mean? But, you know, there was an interview. Yeah, you remember that, Jay? There was an interview that a girl from that used to go to school with him interviewed him, and he was like, "Yo, we used to go to school together." And yeah, she used to clown and call him corny and stuff. But now look at him now. He's like the #1 dude in Hollywood. Be care. Some of these haters got to be careful how you talk to people because some of those people end up being somebody later in life. He never forgot that. In fact, that's probably a chip on his shoulder that he used to grind harder, because he remembered how certain people or even certain women may have treated him when he was younger, when he was a technically a nobody, I guess, as you would say. Now he's the biggest actor in the world. And now those same people wish they would have stayed on his good side. So just something to think about. Some of the people that hate on you now when you're grinding or having a small victory, those same people are going to want to be in your life when you make it to the top of the mountain. They're going to say, "Oh, I used to know him," or "I used to know her." You said Radical 45 said, "I'm glad I tuned in. I needed to hear this message today." Absolutely, man. This was just me on a random Sunday. I have a lot going on this week, and I actually think I'm going to go ahead and get off this live now. Probably going to go outside or get a walk in or something. But make sure, if you want to support this channel, make sure you drop me a super chat, or you can head on over to TonySwayMusic.com, cop you some beats. I got buy one, get 20 free on all my leases, whether it's an unlimited lease, track out lease, or standard lease. It's buy one, get 19 free. So you can select up to 20 beats, and it'll only charge you for one. It'll only charge you for one. And then also I got my sound packs available and drum kits available also on TonySwayMusic.com as well. There's a bunch of those. So make sure you support me in any way that you can. Cop some beats, cop some sound packs, cop some drum kits. I truly appreciate it. Drop me a super chat if you support what I do. I definitely want to bring more messages and more inspiration and encouragement to you guys, so you can keep living your best life. And if you can't do any of those things, I get it. I understand. The least you can do is drop a like on the video and share this live and share my videos with your network. I truly appreciate all of you. God bless everybody. I love y'all. Much love. Your boy Tony Sway, aka Sway Versace, is out. Aka Sway will dunk on you is out. All right, now for real, y'all. I appreciate everybody. Love y'all. God bless. Be easy. Take care of yourself. One love. One love. One love.